We are going to continue this conference and speak about some morality in the marriage life, and it's quite an important topic, and we have to get it right. First of all, what is morality? What is moral? Moral is what is good for us. Moral is what is making us happy in heaven, of course, that can lead us to heaven. But this is what is fitting our human nature. The morality, what is good and bad, is not what is allowed or forbidden. That is a kind of voluntarist conception of things. Now, what is good and bad, according to the Catholic Church, according to Saint Thomas Aquinas, what is good for us is what makes us being better, being happy, according to our nature. It means what is good for a couple in terms even of sexuality is what will be good for their family according to what is good for their marriage in the sight of God, in the plan of God. We have to understand that this the marriage and the sexuality is a real part of the love of the couple. We should never separate three different things: love, sexuality, and procreation. These three things should always be together and should not oppose each other and should stay in harmony, these three of them. And of course, the sexuality is a part of the love of the couple, and this love of the couple is a source of the fecundity of the couple. And the fecundity is not only a number of children. The fecundity is everything good that can come from your marriage, your couple. Of course, your children, of course, a happy family, but even your apostolate, even your marriage life, with all the effects, the positive effects it could have. Your marriage, your life as a couple, should be full of love. Your couple should be a place of happiness, of a warm place, a sweet home, where there is a lot of love, a lot of understanding, where there is a lot of peace in your relationship. I know for us as human beings, a good relationship will be first based on our intelligence, our understanding, how we share the same value, the same goal, how we have the same ultimate goal in life, that is to go to heaven, to be strong together in our family, to all these values of your families that make you really a strong family full of love, a place where you can receive your children, but receive also so many other people and communicate your happiness, communicate your joy, communicate your faith. Your family should be also a center of attraction for other people because it's a good place. What is good is always attractive. If there is a place where there is a lot of love, this place will always be an attraction for other people and a place of apostolate, a place of generosity. This is why we have to understand what is a good family, to know what is good for a family and what is bad for a family, even in terms of sexuality. In the Catholic moral, what is good is what is fitting our nature. The family should be this place where we can find the charity of God, where we can find God, a place of perfect understanding, perfect charity, as perfect as possible because we are human beings, we are limited. But it is a place of trust and a place where our children can grow in a nice environment, a safe environment, where we can give them a very good affective balance because the parents are loving each other. It's a secure and safe place for the children to grow. Let us never forget that the sacrament of marriage is a sacrament consecrating your love. We could say a sacrament dedicated for the fraternal love, the sanctification of the charity for your neighbor, for your spouse, for your children. And this is what should be a Catholic family. And when we know these Catholic families, when we meet them, usually they are a point of reference for so many other families and so many other couples because of this attraction that is coming from the love they have inside, from this happiness they have to live as a good family. I think it's important to introduce the topic of morality in the marriage with a good notion of morality. Because many Catholics, or even many fiancés, where they prepare a marriage, they want to know what is allowed or not allowed, but that is not a good question. Of course, some things are good, some things are bad, but we have to understand why they are good and why they are bad. If we don't understand why, if we don't have a deeper understanding, it will be bad because we will not reach the heart of what should be the family. And first of all, I think it's very important to understand that the family is made for love and for life, and the sexuality is a part of the love, of the respect, of the understanding of the couple. It cannot be cut from the respect you have for each other, for the true charity you have for each other. Sexuality should be only the continuation of your charity, the continuation of your love for each other, your care, and sexuality can be the last point, of your union, but it is really in the line of this charity. There is no sexuality without love. There is no love without respect and without care. And it's very difficult in the family life, in this relationship, in the couple, to handle the difference of psychology, the difference of of psychology between men and women. There is a big difference. This is why a lot of charity is needed, because the need of each one are not the same. And if we want the family to work, the sexuality to be healthy and good and source of love and happiness, source of fecundity, not only in the number of children that is important, but also in the development of the children, the happiness of the children, the happiness of the family, their growth, even their fidelity to the faith, because they have been living in a happy Catholic family. They got this this idea that family is a good thing, where we are happy, because they could receive this happiness within their family. And of course, if God has given to this conjugal act this aspect of happiness, of pleasure, if God has given to this love this attraction, it is to strengthen the love in your family, to strengthen your couple, in order for it to be stronger. Stronger for what? Stronger to communicate love, charity, life, to communicate this Catholic education that is communication of the love of God to the children. I think it's important for you to have a comprehensive vision of the family and of the goal of the family. We were saying the goal of the family is to populate heaven. The first goal of marriage is to get children, to raise them properly, and to make them saints and holy, and to give them back to God. But God himself is charity. We have to make them love their Father in heaven. And for that, we have to show them that God is love, and that they will learn that from their parents. They will learn that from how much they have been loved at home by the father, by the mother. They will learn that by this mutual love they have seen at home and experienced at home in a climate, a positive climate of peace, of respect, of love, of understanding. And even when you are married, your marriage makes you, of course, a new family, but this family is your whole life. Meaning everything you do from your couple, even everything you do at work, is fed by your marriage, is fed by your couple. If you are happy in your family, you will be better at work. If you are happy in your relationship together, you will be stronger for what you have to do in the society. The source of your action in the world should be your marriage and your happiness in your marriage. It should be a strength for you, a support for you, not only for the education of your children and your family life, but even everything you do should come from this marriage. Now, this marriage is a public sacrament, it's a sanctification of your way of life, of your vocation, of your whole life as someone who is married, even publicly in the society. This sacrament, your family, should be the source of a lot of strength, a lot of power, a lot of love, to be able to give back. And this is what I will say, the full fecundity of your family. The first one, of course, is a material fecundity, that to have your children and to transmit them the life of God. But your couple is wider than that. It has also a kind of politic dimension. And even if you volunteer somewhere, if you have some activity in the parish, or if you belong to an association and you give your time somewhere, it should never be something that is against your family or opposed to your marriage, but it should come from your love. It should come from the strength you have together. And together, because of your union, because of your common ideal, you are stronger even to give more around you and to be active in society. Let us not have a conception of the marriage that is a bit selfish, or it's too partial, too secluded. Even your sexuality is not just something separated from your daily life, from how you speak to each other, from the care you can have for each other, the understanding you have of the need of someone. All these things are one, and it has to be one and to be made, all these things, out of charity. Because being Catholic, being sanctified by a sacrament of marriage, we have to do everything we do out of charity. I think when we explain that, you understand even the sexuality of the couple is full of course, of charity, of respect, but full also of fecundity in so many different ways. Your love is fecund because it gives life, but it's also fecund because it's a strength for you to give more around you, to give more in the society. And the love that is not fecund is not a charity, it is a selfishness. This is why deeply we cannot cut love and fecundity. We cannot cut sexuality and procreation, because these things are all one in the plan of God. And when in the Gospel it is written that we should not separate what God has made one, yes, God has made one, the man and the woman in the marriage, but three things in this marriage should never be separated: is sexuality, love, and procreation. At least to be open for this fecundity. And you can see that when you have some couples who cannot get children, of course it's a great suffering for them, but it's also a problem that is not well understood. still this couple has to be fecund. Even if it's not with children, the fecundity of their love is still totally valid. Of course, it's a big cross not to have children, but even their love, even their sexuality has a meaning. The sexuality is a part of your love. Your sexuality is binding you more and more, and is a source of fecundity for your children, but also for an action you can have together as a couple, or in your apostolate, or in your engagement. Okay, let us consider these things are as one and united. And now we understand better that the problem of contraception, we understand better this wrong mentality, that is to cut deeply love from fecundity, to cut sexuality from procreation willingly. It is a distortion of what should be the family. If we observe the nature and the work of God, we can be amazed at the fecundity of God. How God is loving life and loving a great variety of life and a great abundance of life. Is a nature, the number of plants, of animals, of human beings, of angels. We can see that the fecundity of God is great. The fecundity and the life has always been seen as a blessing of God, something coming from the wealth of God. And it has always been the case. You can see in the Bible, even a large family is always seen as a blessing of God. And this is truly a blessing of God. I was giving you this example of to try to cheat God about love, about sexuality. We say that this love and this sexuality are an encouragement given by God for you to have to accomplish your duties, the kind of salary given for this duty to receive children from Him and to raise them for Him, and how it is a kind of cheat to try to take the pleasure and refuse the job, the work to be done. We explained that in a previous conference, how it is cheating God to cut, to separate now sexuality in this aspect of pleasure, but to refuse this aspect of duty and responsibility. And this is why deeply contraception is not good, and even it's not good according to the plan of God, and it's not good for your family itself, because this lack of love, because contraception is a lack of love, because this fecundity should end up in the love of your children according to the nature of things. This lack of love, this selfishness that is contraception, is destroying your own love and destroys also your family. that is made of true love, and true love is sacrifice. Okay, it is important to consider this your family life, to consider the goal of your family, to consider your sexuality, to consider your love, all these things united for the sake of doing the mission of God in the world, that is to make God known and loved for who He is. It means for being our Father who is loving us and taking care of us. What is good for your family, what is good for reaching the goal of your marriage is good. And what destroys your family is bad. What is not building your love is bad. What is not building a spirit of sacrifice for the other one is bad. What is selfish is bad. But what is a generosity is always good for your marriage. Sexuality has to be purified and sanctified by a lot of charity. Sexuality could be bestial, could be violent, could be not respectful of the other person. And of course, all these things are damaging the charity, are damaging your family, are damaging your couple, and are harmful for your children. There are many ways to consider marriage. We can consider marriage in a very juridical way as a contract, and this contract having obligations, and it's clear it's a contract and it has obligation, but I don't think we can reduce family life at a contract that we sign in Sharia house. It's much more than that, mainly with this religion that is ours, a religion of charity and a sacrament to sanctify this family. When we speak about the obligation to accept, to have this sexual relation in the family, the due, the conjugal due, it is an obligation of love, first of all. It is in the line of your love. It is an obligation to build your family and to give to the other one what he needs. I think it's important never to separate in our mind the different aspects of our family life. And yes, it is a sin to refuse a conjugal due if there is no reason, for two different reasons. First of all, it is actually what is marriage is to be able to access this sexuality in a safe place for getting children, for raising them, and to be also supported in our needs. And the marriage is made also for this mutual support and to give room for this need of sexuality, but it's also, of course, an act of charity to care for your spouse and the need of your spouse. And it can be a mortal sin, it is true, or to refuse what is the essence of your marriage without reason and good reason. It's also a lack of charity to expose maybe your spouse to temptations when they should be happy at home. And it's always very important to be happy at home. It's always very prudent for you to make sure that your spouse is happy at home. That's avoiding many temptations to look for happiness somewhere else. Okay, let us understand how these things are united. So the catechism will tell you that yes, there was obligation to accept a relationship if it is asked by the other one, and it's even a mortal sin to refuse it because it's a due of justice. But let us not isolate this justice and this due from the charity and the care we have for the other person. And let us also never consider a sexual relation only as an act of justice that you are obliged to do, but as essentially and mainly an act of love that is strengthening your family, making your family better, your family more happier, stronger, and a better place. This is a real union of all these things together. I want also to speak about the limitation of this fecundity, because we had a real sexual revolution that has come with the spread of contraception everywhere. Actually, contraception has always been there in humanity. The 20th century has invented nothing. We can see contraception in the Bible, practiced by Onan and condemned very severely by God himself, onanism. And contraception has always been there since the beginning of humanity. It's not something new, but culturally, it has taken a very important part in the life of the families and in the life of the women, because contraception has been seen as a liberation of women who are not now linked, bound to procreation. They can be free from procreation. They can master their procreation, and now they can have a career, or they can do whatever they want without fearing to be pregnant. This sexual revolution is extremely wrong and dangerous because, as you understand, it's cutting totally sexuality from the goal of sexuality, from the marriage, from the procreation. It's cutting sexuality from a stable love of one man for one woman, this stability and permanence of love, this security of sexuality, security of love, security for the children. It has transformed sexuality in a recreational action made for pleasure and enjoyment. That is totally unacceptable and unnatural, totally opposed to the sake of the persons, and the sake of the family, and the sake of the children, and the sake of the society. We'll pay a very expensive price for the result of this sexual liberation. And actually, the children are already paying a very heavy price, having now so many dysfunctionment in the society, so many families without a father, so many single mothers, so many children who have been sacrificed because of the selfishness of the parents or their lack of prudence and self-control. What is the plan of God in terms of fecundity in the couple? How many children should you get? There is no answer to this question. Every family is different, and God is the one giving life. For you, your attitude is to be open to life, to be open to receive as many children as God wants you to have, and that is not an unlimited number. How do you know how many children can you receive from God? You have been given a virtue of prudence to guide you in all your actions. You are intelligent. God has given you an intelligence to guide yourself in your actions. The virtue of prudence has even to control, even our act of faith, hope, and charity are controlled by the virtue of prudence. It means even our sexuality, our prudence has something to say. But the goal is not to have one child every year. The goal is to be open to life, to the life that God wants to give us, but of course in the limit of what is prudent. And now, of course, is as a family or as a couple, you speak together and you reach this conclusion that it will be very imprudent to have a child now because we cannot receive a child now because of some factors that show that it's not reasonable to accept this gift of God now. It means you have to do something in order, maybe not to receive this gift of God, that is always a gift, but maybe your prudence has to limit. Maybe because your doctor told you that you cannot, it's not possible, you must avoid a new birth within now the 2 next years, or the next 3 years. And now you are facing the necessity to limit. Or you are too tired, it's not reasonable to get a new child now. You have to recover a bit, you have to launch the education of the previous one. You have some different reasons. It can be medical, social reasons. You really cannot raise more children. Or you are reaching also a moment when you say, I think we have done our job. Okay, if God wants to send another one, we will not say no, but we'll not look for him, no? Because I think now we are done. We have 7, 8 children. We are getting a bit old. We have to educate all these teenagers. okay, maybe it's reasonable to go to the next stage of our life. Okay, different consideration can tell you that, and they have different kind of value. Some are imperative, some are not really imperative. It doesn't prevent you to get another child, but it starts to have a certain weight in your consideration. We are made by God to act according to the human prudence, but not to the prudence of the flesh, prudence of the world. Because the prudence of the world will tell you not to have children or to have maximum one or two in order to enjoy this life better. And that is not the prudence of the gospel. It is not the plan of God. This is why our marriage has to be deeply open to life, deeply open to even a large family, and very happy to receive from God a large family, but maybe, according to some circumstances, we will have the duty to space or to limit the gift of God. But I think it's important to start with the right mentality. The right mentality is you are getting married to have many children, to receive a large family from God, and that will be your happiness. And a large family where there is a lot of love is a very wonderful place to be, and it's really better, even for the education of the children, than a very one or two children and something that is not really open to life. Okay, if now we are reaching this conclusion that it is not prudent for a serious reason to have more children, there is sometimes only one option, that is abstinence. Total abstinence can be the only option available and secure for that. It's not the only option, but it is an option, and it is the most secure of all of them in case of very important. And if God is putting you in the situation where you don't have another option, and these things can happen, and these things are happening every day actually, and they are not always good, but we have seen some families where someone goes to work in Canada or in Dubai for years, and they are separated. Now, of course, this is abstinence for many, many months, maybe. And this is something with the grace of God, we are able to face. And if God, by the disposition of His providence, is putting us in the necessity of a total abstinence, it is possible with His grace. There is also the possibility to use this natural family planning, as we call it, where you are keeping chastity for a while when you know that you are in a fecund period, and it is allowed to to use this knowledge, because actually it is just a knowledge. It's a knowledge of yourself. It's a knowledge of who you are, a knowledge of the cycle of the woman. It's a knowledge of yourself. Some persons, they have this knowledge by intuition. They know themselves, and they exactly know when ovulation is coming. They know exactly where they are in their cycle by intuition. Some others, they need some other means like temperature, auto-observation. And today you have many different applications that are helping people to track their cycle. It is allowed to use of this method if we have actually a strong reason to use of this method. And they are actually working with a high rate of efficiency. But for people who want to practice this method, of course, it is something a professional training is needed. It's not only to count days on the calendar, cannot be enough. But let us get the right spirit about it, because the problem, this method have been taught as a Catholic contraception, and that is not the goal of this method. The goal is not to use that with a contraceptive spirit. It's totally the opposite. The spirit we should have is a spirit to desire children, but maybe it can happen that we cannot follow this desire, and we should limit this desire of children. Life is a benediction, is not something to avoid, but maybe we can be pushed to this conclusion that we should not, it will not be prudent, or even we can say it will be even a sin for us to not to be prudent, because the doctor has said that it was very dangerous for the health of my wife, and now I have to take serious dispositions to protect my wife. I want to tell you by experience that large families are a real blessing of God, and it will be very important to restore the spirit about marriage and this understanding about marriage against the spirit of the world that is pushing more and more in a culture of death, where the Catholics, they are pro-life, and the world is pro-death. The world is always promoting euthanasia, abortion, contraception. when even the experience is showing that large families are a source of very nice blessing, even at an economic level, a society, the security of the society is in the future, in a number of children to run the society and to pay for you when you will not work anymore. And we are living longer and longer lives. We cannot work up to the end. The life is becoming more and more expensive. Hospitals are becoming more and more expensive. And the natural security is family and children. Some countries like Japan are experiencing very difficult problem for ensuring the life of the elder one. You have a very, very low birth rate. Even China is reducing a lot of population, and they will not have even people to pay for them when they will be old. I was told the story of someone, they got 9 children, and now when they are old, they just send a message to all their children, please send me 1,000. And now, instantly, they receive some good cash. That is, an investment for your future. And that is just an example, but it's a reality, actually. Who is going to take care of you when you will have, maybe, I don't know, a bill for hospital? If you have only one child and this child has disappeared abroad, or maybe even he has died in an accident, you are left alone. And even for the security of the society, even when we have a very good system of retirement, as we have in France, we can see the problem. We have big riots today because they want to change the system for pension. Because we don't have children, nobody can pay for the pension of the old people. The old people are living more and more. And now they are pushing, of course, for people to work more in order to pay longer. But mainly they are pushing for euthanasia, to kill old people, because the best way is to kill them. They stop to cost to the society. Because this is a direct effect of contraception, of not willing to have children. Now we need, or the society is in need to find bad solution for a problem they have created themselves out of selfishness. I want to say something about artificial procreation. It's important for us to get it right, because some people can be tempted to use artificial procreation, thinking it's a good way to go for having children if it becomes difficult. Artificial procreation is a medical technology that offers parents the possibility of conceiving a child outside of the natural process. There is an artificial insemination system called in vitro fertilization. There is also when fertilization is made just in a test tube and the embryo is implanted in the uterus. Can even go further, and it's possible to get another woman than the mother to carry the child and return it to the parents after birth. It can even happen that the sperm of the father is inseminated directly in this second mother, and now she becomes the biological mother. But you can see just very quickly different kind of artificial procreation. Now they are pushing for a project of artificial uterus where you have like a factory of babies, and you can grow the babies out of their mother from the beginning. It is always very, very dangerous to touch a natural process, mainly like the one of life. We should not play with life. It is too serious to play about. Remember what I was telling you? Love, sexuality, and procreation should be together. It is dangerous to separate these things. A baby is not the fruit of technology. A baby is a fruit of your love and a fruit of your act of love, that is your sexual relation. Let us not separate what God has made one. The child must be the fruit of the love of the father and the mother, a love which is manifested and expressed in the conjugal act. Artificial procreation breaks this natural bond between the parents and the child. And we should not play with that. We even don't know what will be the psychological effect of this kind of procreation. I think it's always important to respect the nature that God has created and not to try to invent some ways that are actually bringing some sinful process. Mainly in artificial procreation, it involves abortion, because it's not only the production of one embryo, it's many of them are collected. They freeze this embryo that is or a kind of expose them to abortion after a while, you know. It's also to open the door for genetic manipulation. And the Pope Pius XII has condemned artificial procreation, saying restricting the cohabitation of the spouse and the conjugal act to a purely organic function for the transmission of germs would be like converting the domestic hearth, the family sanctuary, into a simple biological laboratory. Yeah, family is much more than chemistry, He's also saying the conjugal act in its natural structure is a personal action, a simultaneous and immediate cooperation of the spouse, which, because of the nature of the agents and the property of their act, is the expression of the reciprocal gift, which, according to the word of Scripture, realize the union in one flesh. There is much more here than the union of two germs, which can take place artificially, that is to say, without the natural intervention of the two spouses. He says also artificial fertilization goes beyond the limits of the right that the spouse have acquired through the matrimonial contract, namely that of fully exercising their natural sexual capacity in the natural accomplishment of the matrimonial act. And that's just, of course, it is authorized maybe to help a natural process to be more efficient, to find a way to push the sperm up to the place of fecundation. And these things can be maybe done. There's a complement of the natural action. And you have some specialists who are helping people to conceive when it becomes difficult in a marriage to get children. They can maybe help the parents. And actually, even the method of the natural method are also a way to be more efficient in the time of to find the best time for a sexual relation to be fecund. But there are also other specialists who can help to the natural process of fecundation to be more effective. That is allowed. Okay, we have finished for this session. The most important is for you to understand the necessity to understand all these elements of marriage as one family life made out of love, the sexuality in the family being actually not separated from this love, and the fecundity being something that is a consequence of your love, and even a larger fecundity that is even your apostolate and your action in the world coming from your family, coming from your marriage as a source of a larger fecundity in all your life. I don't know if you have questions you would like to ask.
This place where you can, where the couples are not able to get each other. How to navigate this place? Practically, I've seen it go break most marriages at the moment. Maybe research from getting another lady.
Yeah. Yeah, the problem of lack of fecundity in a couple, and this problem being even the source of separation or taking another wife, even because of a lack of fecundity. The first thing we have to say is the plan of God is not to wait too long to get married, because actually the more we wait, the more it can become difficult to get children. And that can be also a reason. Mainly in the modern world, people can use contraceptive for many years, even abort, and the day they want to get children, it becomes difficult. That is a first answer. And people are now supporting some inconvenience due or because the influence of the society that has pushed them in a wrong direction. It's the drama of many women today who discover too late that they want children, and now they are alone. They have pushed their career, and one day they discover that they don't have children, and maybe it's difficult to get them now. The society have misled and lied actually to these women. After, the other case is just someone who, a kind of sterility that God has allowed to happen, a difficulty to get pregnant, an impossibility to conceive, and now this is a cross. It's a heavy cross for a family. Of course, it doesn't allow a family to be broken for that. It's a cross to carry together and to find a different expression of this fecundity. But of course, in this trio, they should carry the burden together, help together, love each other, and discern with the grace of God what they are going to do from their love and from their family, because they are a family. But it's a heavy cross and a heavy burden. Of course, it doesn't allow someone to take another wife. Of course, it can be the occasion of that, I understand. But it's not a reason. It's just an occasion. Or you have the NAPRO technology that are trying to help people to conceive when it becomes difficult. They cannot do miracles, but they can help a natural process to be successful. And if the medical field is able to help people to conceive, that is wonderful, but with the limit we have said, so the artificial procreation, of course. The natural process has to be respected, but it can be helped, maybe.
Considering that the goal of marriage is to have children polygamy, is there limits for when does the education of children end?
You mean in limit in time for the care you have for your own children?
It's like in the context in which we encourage to have a child at 50,
Okay.
55. Maybe you need 14 or 16 years
To raise this child. This is where we have been given an intelligence and a virtue of prudence to take care of that. And it can become legitimate to try to avoid a new birth, because now we think now we are done for that, and we have done our job, and now maybe it's too late. But I know a family in France, very good friends. They got, I think, 8 children, and the woman, and now a nice family, but I think maybe 10 years after the birth of the last one, the woman was 52 years old, and she got pregnant. And yeah, she received this child at 52. And they did what they had to do. And actually, it has kept this. I know this couple very well, but it has kept them very young, actually, because they had to do the job now. And God has given them the grace. And now this child is 24 years old, I think, now. 22 or 24 years old, 22. Yeah. And the two parents are still there, and now they have done the job. And I think it has been a blessing. Of course, they were not looking for this blessing. They were not looking for this child, but it has happened, you know. And it's like that, and God has decided for them. Yeah. But of course, we have to be guided by our reason, but let us not be too much prudent also, because some people are too much prudent. Let us also believe that God will provide, and that the child is a benediction. I think we should. The first attitude should be open to life, and yeah, and to have this desire of a large family. After, prudence will come to limits at some stage. Yeah.
Maybe as a follow-up, I see a lot of intelligence is required to address this issue of humanity and knowledge. Is there any obligation for the spouses to acquire knowledge?
It's not an easy question. It's not an easy question, but I think the dignity of a human being is to use his intelligence. And knowledge can be sometimes dangerous, and we are using some knowledge for bad purpose. We can use our knowledge to kill people or to create dangerous weapons. But we are not closing universities and because of people using badly the knowledge. I think the dignity of the human being is to access knowledge and to use it properly. For a woman to get a knowledge about herself, and for a couple to know what they are doing, I think it's good and it's really human. But it should not be an opportunity for refusing life, for selfishness. It should be an opportunity for more love and more charity and more generosity, but also with prudence. Because on the opposite, we have the case of the story of a man who was living in a very small house on the beach. He had 8 children. The wife was exhausted. She was fearing to have another child because they were extremely poor and she could not provide. And herself, it was really too much for herself. And actually, there is a virtue of chastity that is good for all of us, you know. It's good also for a man and for a couple to practice chastity, because to have too many children is not the goal, you know. It's a lack of prudence. And even this man was taught actually about how to, and together they were taught how to know where they are in the cycle and to control a bit the fecundity of this family. And he said that himself to the team who was teaching. He told them, don't worry, I know what I have to do. I am feeling that I am becoming a man now, because I have learned how to control myself. And I feel even better because I feel that I have gained more humanity, being able to control myself, because before he could not restrain him from sexuality, and this is why his wife was full-time pregnant, you know, because he could not limit himself. And it's actually one of the positive effects of these methods. They are teaching chastity to couples. And that is something good, actually, because chastity in the couple has many advantages in terms of trust, and it allows to grow something else than sex. But so many things are more important in terms of relationship. There is the testimony of a woman saying, since we practice this method, our sexuality is going really better because now we talk. And actually, to have time to speak together is essential for a couple. A couple under contraception can have sex twice a day, but they have killed love. And sexuality is not fulfilling by itself. An abuse of sexuality that can be accessed now because of contraception is not fulfilling the love of the couple. But the practice of chastity now forces the couple to have other means of communication and strengthen the love of the couple a lot. This is why these methods have also a good aspect of making people practice chastity.
What stage do you think couple has no children,
Does not?
has no children? Maybe they have been suffering from, they have been unable to get children. Then they have tried after years and years, then they choose the option to adopt.
Okay.
And then they adopt like one or two children, they become pregnant. Do these parents have rights over the adopted children? Maybe we can say now, we now have these children in the family. We have others.
No.
I've also seen others after they have like 5, 6 children, maybe due to the desire of the wife to have more children, they adopt others.
Yeah.
They have maybe like 10 each. Yeah.
Yeah. That's asking the question of adoption. Adoption is, of course, something we have to consider, because you have parents without children and children without parents. And of course, everybody is saying, let us match these needs. But it's a bit sensitive. Adoption is something you cannot push for, because there is no right to children, actually, and that is what is very important to understand. To receive, to have a child is a gift we do to this child to give him life. There is no right for a parent to possess a child, and it could be very wrong to adopt a child because you want a child. You know, life is something mysterious. It's a gift of God. We should not try to control the gift of God. It can be dangerous. Even the effect on the child can be dangerous somehow. If the child is not willed for himself, but is willed for the sake of the parents. Always, adoption is a long process, and it has to be a pure process, even in terms of intention of the parents. They have to think a lot why they adopt this child. It's not an easy process because this child is not really your child, biologically speaking. And one day this child can fire back to you, and it can be difficult. Still, it's a great charity to adopt a child, and if a couple decide to do that, it can be wonderful. Even if having some children, they want to get and to give, to share the happiness of their family with some other children. If they pray for that and they feel that it's a good charity they can do and they are ready to do it, it's wonderful. Of course, if they have adopted these children, there is no way they can give them back. Even if they get their own, that is just impossible to give this trauma to these children. It will show very clearly that when they got these children, it was for their own sake and not as an act of love for these children. If now they are able to abandon these children, you can really see that the intention was not pure at all, and they should never have adopted these children, actually, if they are able to inflict them a second trauma. Yeah.
But I'm also concerned. I've never been to China, but I get stories from that place indicating that the state at some point dictates the size of the family. So where does this place capital within that
Okay.
jurisdiction?
It's clearly an abuse of power from the government. Okay, it's not a legitimate law to limit like that the number of children. It's against the natural order and natural law. Still, they have the power, the physical power to implement this kind of laws and enforce them. But when you go against the nature, it always fires back. And actually, China is having now a lack of, you know what happened, huh? With only one child, they have aborted all the girls. They have only men. And now, what do you do to get married now? There is no enough women. You know, this kind of thing fire back very quickly. You know, we said God forgive always, man forgive sometimes, nature never forgive. And now they have touched nature, and they have this big problem. There is what they call sexual misery there, you know, because maybe you have one girl for 20 men, and that is very bad. The other problem they have is the decrease of population. Very soon they will not have enough babies to run their country. It will be a catastrophe. And actually, everybody is telling you that the world is overpopulated, but it's a very big lie. And I like even a man like Elon Musk is really clearly stating the opposite, saying our problem is a lack of babies in the world. We are going to face big economical problem because of a lack of generation. We are not overpopulated at all. I think the whole of the population of the world could stay, I think in one state of the US, you could put all the population of the world in one state of the US with the density of Brussels, capital. Now you have the rest of the world to feed them now. We are not overpopulated, and but this kind of ideology from the government is against natural law, and that will destroy the country. And now I think India is about to become the first country in terms of population in front of China, I think, very soon. And even in Africa, what are the most wealthy countries of Africa are the most populated also. Okay, you have different reasons, but population is a source of wealth, not a source of poverty. You have to consider all factors, not only number of children. Of course, if you are living in the Sahara, the economic situation can be difficult, but children are a gift, even economically speaking. Because in terms of economy, the more you have children, the more you buy, and the more the economy of the country is running. It's a factor of acceleration of economy, not decrease. Okay. We will have our next conference in two weeks' time.